Hi everyone, in this video we will be crocheting this Santa pillow. For the materials you'll need worsted weight acrylic yarn in red, black, white, and gold, a 14-inch by 14-inch pillow form which I linked down below, a 6.0 millimeter crochet hook, tapestry needle, and scissors. To begin, we are going to start with the front panel, which involves color changes, and I found the easiest way to do it is to have two separate skeins of red, or you can work from the same skein. You can work one strand from the inside and then one strand from the outside, or you can wind up half of your skein, or basically just making two skeins out of one so you can have two separate beginnings. And then we have a section of white in the middle, so then you just need one skein of white. To begin, we will want to chain a total of 46 chains, and I have it coming from my first skein of red here. And then starting into the third chain from the hook, we will be making a double crochet. In the next chain, a single crochet. And that's the pattern we're going to repeat for this first red portion, just alternating double and single crochets. So in the next chain, a double crochet, and then in the next, a single crochet. We're going to do this until we have a total of 16 stitches in the red, and the beginning chain won't be counting as a stitch. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and this next stitch is going to be my 16th stitch. It's going to be a single crochet, and I'm not going to finish it, so I'm just going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, and instead of yarning over and pulling through to finish the stitch, this is where I'm going to switch my color. So I'm going to add my white. I'm just going to pull it through both loops to finish the stitch. I just dropped the red. I'm not going to cut it off. It's just going to be dropped behind. And it is a little finicky at first. And then you can pull the red a little bit just so it's not so loose, but we aren't going to tie it off or cut it off at all. So here we are starting our white. I'm going to yarn over and make a half double crochet into the next chain. And I'm just going to crochet over this little white tail, not the red, just the white tail. So there I have my color change, and I just did my next stitch, which is a half double crochet. So we want 12 half double crochets in white. So there was my first one, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then the next one is going to be the 12th stitch, and I'm not going to finish that stitch So then we could do the color change there. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and this is where we are going to change our color again. So 12 half double crochets in white, and now we are changing to red in a whole different skein. So here I'm gonna loop through my red. I'm just gonna drop the white. I'll pull it a little bit so it's not so loose, but I'm just gonna drop the white behind. And again, it is a little finicky. You just kind of have to work with it a little bit. So I just pulled the white a little bit so it's not so loose. And then now we are going to go back to alternating double and single crochets. So in this next chain, we're going to start with a double crochet. And then the next a single crochet. And I am crocheting over the red yarn tail. So we have a single crochet next, double crochet, and I'm just going to continue to alternate double and single crochet all the way down the row. So here I am at the end of the row. This is what your first row should be looking like. So we're still attached to the first two skeins of yarn, and this will allow us to just pick it up when we switch colors instead of cutting, tying, weaving in the ends. These will just be following us up after each row. So to start row 2, chain up 2, and we're going to turn our work, and once you turn your work, you can also rearrange your yarn so it's not tangled. So here you see when I turn my work, I'm also going to take my yarn and put them or arrange them so they're not tangled. So here my white wants to be in the middle, and now this red will be on that side, just like that. So now my yarn is not tangled. So we're basically just going to repeat the first row, starting with a double crochet. So we chained up 2, and then start with a double crochet in that very first stitch. That beginning chain won't count as a stitch. So double crochet, and then single crochet, double crochet, and then single crochet. Again, we're just alternating double and single crochets. And for the red sections, there will be 16 stitches, but after the first row, we won't really have to count it. We will know when to switch because we will come upon the white section. So here we are coming up to the white section. We'll end with a single crochet, and again, to do the color change, we're not going to finish the single crochet. So we're just going to insert our hook, pull through, and we're not going to finish it. We are just going to leave the red behind, pick up our white, that's right there, and pull it through. And then now we can start our white. So yarn over, and for the white section, remember it's just half double crochets. So we're going to half double crochet all the way across, and the white section is 12 stitches total. So you can see here we just left the red behind. You can pull it a little tight if you need to, if it's really loose or something, but once we come back to it, it should resolve itself because we will be using this and it will tighten up itself. So again, half double crochets with white until we get back to the red section. And here is our last white stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, let go of the white, bring up your red that's right there, and pull it through to complete that half double crochet stitch. And we're just going to finish off our red section. Again, the red sections are double crochet and single crochets, just alternating them. Here you can see the white is a little bit loose, so I'm just going to pull it tight a little bit just to get it back into place. And then I'm just going to finish off the red section. So this is how it's looking. And we're just going to repeat this for a total of 14 rows. So take your time with the color changes, especially if it's your first time. It is a little finicky, but you will get used to it. Things get a little loose, but it's nothing that you can't fix. Like you saw, you could just pull it a little tight. And then once you get to that next row, just make sure the tension is even before you start crocheting with it. So go ahead and repeat this row for a total of 14 times. And I'm also going to show you how I crochet the last 14th row before we get to the black row. Here I am finishing up the 14th row. And since the next row, I'm not going to need the red, white, or the other red, I'm actually going to cut this first section of red right before I switch to white. And then now I'm going to switch to white and then pull my red end, not too tight, but just enough so it's not loose. And then I'm actually going to tie it around the white just once, just to secure it, since we won't be using it for the next row. And then I'm gonna go ahead and finish off my white section. And then once I'm done with my white, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna cut it off and then tie it to this red strand. So here's my last stitch. And before I finish off the stitch, I'm going to snip the white, tie it around the red, and then pull the red through, and then finish my red section. So here I just snipped off the red since we will be changing colors for the belt. So this is all 14 rows of our 3 different sections. And now we will be adding black for the belt. So I'm just gonna pull it through my loop, tighten the red tail, and then I'm just going to tie this together to secure it. Chain 1, turn my work, and I will be just crocheting over these tails, so it's one less end to weave in. And for the next 5 rows, we will be doing half double crochets only. So starting in that very first stitch, we will make a half double crochet and just half double crochet in each stitch all the way across for a total of 5 rows. And then in the beginning of each row, remember, we just do a chain 1, and that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So this is what it should look like after the belt portion with the black, and we're just going to repeat what we did down here. So with 3 sections of color, I have my 3 skeins of yarn ready, and I'm going to attach the red first. And this first section of red is 16 stitches alternating the double and single crochets, starting with the double crochet. So this last single crochet is going to be my 16th stitch. Again, I'm just going to drop my red so I can start my white. Loop it in, tighten that red a little bit since it got really loose. And then for the white section, it's 12 half double crochets. And then here on my 12th stitch, I'm not going to finish the stitch, drop my white so I can add my second section of red. And the red sections are alternating double and single crochets, starting with double crochets with a double crochet, and then single, and then double. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this row and then also repeat this row just how we did down here for a total of 19 rows, and that will finish up the crochet portion of this front panel. So this is how the front panel should be looking, and since we are working on the front panel, we're going to go ahead and work on the buckle next. For the buckle, I am using this goldish yellow color. We're going to start with a slip knot and chain 24. Once we have 24 chains, we are going to join to the very first stitch. Careful not to twist the chain at all. So I'm just going to join to the very first chain and make sure I don't have any twists in the chain. Chain up one, and then in that very first chain where we joined, we will be making 3 single crochets. Now we're going to single crochet into the next 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we are going to repeat that pattern. So we did 3 single crochets in one stitch and then 5 single crochets into the next 5 chains. So in the next chain, we're going to do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. And then in the next 5 chains, 1 single crochet each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here you can see it's starting to look like a square. So again, in the next 3 single crochets, and then a single crochet into the next 5 chains, and then in the next 3 single crochets all in 1, 2, 3, and then we should have just 5 chains left until we get back to the beginning. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we will join to that very first single crochet. So that little chain 1 in the beginning isn't going to count. We are going to join to that very first single crochet that we made. So this is what it should be looking like after row 1. For the next round, we're going to chain up 1, And in that very first stitch, we will make 1 single crochet. And then in the next stitch, we are at that corner, so we are going to make 3 single crochets. And then in the next 7 stitches, we will do just 1 single crochet each, basically until we get to the next corner. So there was the 7th stitch. Now we're at the next corner and we will do 3 single crochets. So we're just going to do that with the remaining sides. So in each corner you have 3 single crochets, and then across we are doing 7 single crochets until we get to that corner. So go ahead and do the rest of the sides. So here I am back to the beginning. After this corner with 3 single crochets, this last side will only have 6 single crochets, because if you remember, we made 1 single crochet in the very first stitch. So then that would have counted towards our 7 for each side. So now we are going to join to that very first single crochet, chain 1, single crochet into that very first space and into the next space, and that brings us to our corner where we will do 3 single crochets, and in this last round we will do 9 single crochets across until we get to that next corner. So here we are after 9 single crochets. We're going to make 3 single crochets in the next one because that's our corner, and we're just going to continue to do that all the way around. Again, in this round we are doing 9 single crochets across before we do our corner, which is 3 single crochets. Here I am back to the beginning. So after this last corner I had 7 stitches, and now I am going to join to that very first single crochet, and I'm going to leave a long tail so I can sew this onto the front panel. So this is what your buckle should be looking like. To sew the buckle on, I just do a really simple up and down running stitch to sew it onto the front panel. I will weave this little end in before I start sewing, but this buckle basically just goes where this black portion of the belt is on the front panel, and then centered, so it should fit pretty perfectly in between the white and then the middle part where the black is. So you would center it just like that. Take your tapestry needle and thread it. Since this is just one piece, I don't mind sewing this on, but you could also use fabric glue or some sort of glue to glue this down if you wanted to. So I'm literally just going to hold my piece where I want it, go through the buckle piece and the front panel, and then I'm going to come up next to it, through the front panel, through the buckle, and that's it. I'm just going to do that all the way around. And in my first sample pillow, I actually just did the outer edge and I left the inside, you know, loose, and it was fine. But if you want to, you can also sew this inner edge down onto the front panel. To begin the back panel, we will be starting with a chain of 46 with our red yarn, and then into the third chain from the hook, make a double crochet. In the next, a single crochet, and we're just going to repeat that pattern all the way across. So for the back panel, we won't be changing to white at all. It's just going to be solid red rows. So go ahead and alternate your double and single crochet all the way down the row. Once you finish the row, it should look something like this. And then we're going to chain 2, turn our work, and then in the first stitch, a double crochet, in the next stitch, a single crochet, and in this row, we are also alternating between double and single crochets, and we will be repeating this row for a total of 14 rows. So in the beginning, chain 2, start with your double crochet, and then start alternating with the single crochets. So go ahead and repeat this row for a total of 14 times. So here I have 14 rows total, and I cut my yarn because we are going to change to black to make the belt portion. So I am going to add my black, just loop it through, pull my red tail tight, and I'm just gonna make a simple knot to secure it. Chain 1, and then I am going to crochet over these tails. So again, for the belt, we are just doing half double crochets all the way across, starting in that very first stitch. And then go ahead and repeat that for a total of 5 rows. So again, for the belt, we want all half double crochets all the way across for a total of 5 rows. I just finished the belt portion, so 5 rows of the half double crochets. So I'm going to cut the black yarn and go back to red to finish off the panel. We're going to be doing the same thing as we did down here, which is just alternating double and single crochets, and always starting with that chain 2 for the beginning. And again, I will be crocheting over the tails. So starting with that double crochet in that very first stitch, and then next a single crochet, and just alternating that all the way across. And then for this last stretch of the panel, we will be doing 19 rows. So repeating this row with the red for an additional 19 rows. So here is our back panel complete. So the only thing left to do is to join our panels together, and then of course put in that pillow form. So to join, I like to start at the bottom right corner, and I will be using red to join the panels together. I'm gonna do red all the way around. If you want to change colors to black at this belt portion, then you can do that, but I'm just gonna do all red because it's the easiest way for me to do it. So I'm going to go through the very corner stitches in both panels, and you see these little bumps here. I'm just going to make sure that they are all evenly aligned, so I can be sure that when I'm crocheting them together that it will all be even. Okay, so I'm going to add my red yarn here. There's a lot of red going on, so hopefully this shows up well. So I'm just going to grab my yarn, loop it through, and with the tail end, I'm just going to crochet over the tail. So first I'm going to chain 1 to secure everything in place. And then in that first spot, basically where I made that chain, I'm going to make 3 single crochets. And that's going to be for each corner. We're going to do 3 single crochets. Now I'm just going to go through both panels. There's no right or wrong spot, and make a single crochet. So just try to do this as evenly as possible. And if this is your first time joining anything like this, after a few stitches, just go back and look at your work, see how it's looking. So here you can see everything is flat, everything looks even. If you have too many stitches, it will kind of crinkle up like this. Just go ahead and take it out, try it again. And then if you have too few stitches, you'll see these really stretching out. And again, you just want to take it out and then add in a few more stitches. So like I said, there's not really a right or wrong spot. Just try to make your single crochets across as evenly as possible. You'll start to get the hang of it once you keep going. I find that I'm kind of just doing 2 stitches, two to 3 stitches per ridge or bumps here. And then every so often, I'll look back just to see how it's looking. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this all the way up the side, and then remember in each corner, when you get to a corner, make 3 single crochets, and then you make your way around to the top, 3 single crochets, all the way down, 3 single crochets in each corner, and then don't forget to insert your pillow form before closing up the very bottom edge. Once you get all the way around, all you'll have to do is join to your very first single crochet, fasten off, and then weave in any ends that you have. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you learned something new today, and if you enjoy crochet tutorials, be sure to subscribe to my channel.